first down.
Good evening, everyone. This is Vince Cellini. Coming up next on Sportscenter 8 Today Browns Edition, we'll look back at a wild week in London. The fights, and oh yes, we had a ball game too. Michael Stanley was also across the big pond. He'll take a look back at the week that was. I'll talk to Browns tight end Ozzie Newsome in this, his final season. And we'll go live to Pontiac, Michigan and the Silverdome for an update on tonight's preseason game with the Browns and Lions. All that and much, much more coming up next on SportsCenter 8 Today Browns Edition. Hello, everyone, and welcome to SportsCenter 8 Today Browns Edition. I'm Vince Cellini. As the Browns prepare for their second preseason game just about a half hour away, at least the preparation will take place at home here at Lakeland Community College. Last week, preparing for the Eagles was a bit hectic, to say the least. It was a wild week in London, and Casey looks back at week one of the Browns preseason.
Hours after touching down at Heathrow, the bleary-eyed Browns found themselves at Hyde Park for a practice -1 football. But oddly, no one seemed to care much. Instead, they had a ball later that afternoon, taking in the royal sights round town. The rest of the week meant getting down to the business of football. Practice at the Crystal Palace Sports Complex brought an invasion of British media, and the Browns and Eagles proved to be dubious goodwill ambassadors.
Getting to know you, getting to know all about you, getting to like you, getting to hope you like me.
There were as many as 6 fights during the week, but the Browns and Eagles were getting some work done, and the Brits were loving it, especially the ladies.
Nice men, sexy men. I don't know if it's the outfits or not.
Yeah, they're rather large, too.
They are. Hunky.
Hunky?
Hunky American men, I love them.
For some of us covering the American Bowl in London this week, it meant new adventures, new people, and in some cases, a brand new look. Casey Coleman, News Center 8, looking for armor in London. We stopped by the Royal Box at Wembley, hoping to get the Queen's pick for Sunday's game. Just missed her, however, but the trip wasn't a total loss because we did get to see the Royal Throne. Margaret Thatcher, Chuck and I, my old friend Big Ben, were out when we popped in on them, probably out buying Brown souvenirs. Come Saturday, the dogs got their very first look at Wembley Stadium. No, not those dogs, our dogs. All in all, it had the media equivalent of a playoff game. But keep in mind, all the time, it was still preseason. Finally, game time. And it certainly looked like a first preseason game. It looked a lot like last year as well. On the very first play, Bernie to Reggie Langhorne. Todd Bell with the hit. Eagles recover. You may recall the Browns had a problem on their first possessions a year ago. Randall Cunningham drove them down, and the Eagles led it 7-0 after Mark Higgs went in from 2 yards out. Bernie then marched the Browns downfield, hitting the ice cube for big yardage over the middle. But they couldn't convert when Matt Barr missed a relatively easy chip shot. It was still 7-0 Philadelphia. The Browns' front four did apply some pressure last week at Wembley. Van Waiters had himself a Randall Cunningham meal. No, these aren't the Cleveland dogs. Since we're in London, these are Yorkshire Terriers. In the third quarter, the Browns finally got on the board. Mike Pagel with a swing pass to George Sworn. 22 yards to pay dirt, bowling over would-be Eagle tacklers along the way. However, the extra point was blocked, and Philadelphia led it 10-6. Syracuse product Don McPherson had a great afternoon as the Browns' defensive backs got twisted around on routes, and this one by Gizmo Williams. The Eagles were stopped at the goal line on that drive, but when Pagel got it back, he threw it right back to the Eagles. Then came the play of the day. McPherson with the 34-yard strike to Gizmo Williams. And the big flip after an outstanding catch, 17-6 Eagles at that point. The Browns got the final tally. A 2-yard Pagel to Derek Tennell pass, but it wasn't enough. Buddy beat Bud, 17-13 the final.
I'll be honest with you, my philosophy is that we're going to learn how to play. We're going to find out who the hitters are. We're going to find out who the people are that have what we want to win. And when we find that out, then I think we'll get organized.
I think it was a good week for us this early in the season, and it shows us what we need to work on. Now we have to change gears and work against the 34 next week.
So from Wembley Stadium, we'll go to the Pontiac Silverdome, and hopefully the Browns will have a little better luck this week in Pontiac. Well, our Michael Stanley also spent the week in London with Casey. Michael was a little upset that no one mistook him for Eric Clapton. But nonetheless, Michael came back with quite a feature, and you'll see that up next. Welcome back to SportsCenter 8 Today, Browns edition. Our Michael Stanley did spend some time in London, a great place for rock and roll, and a place that made great contributions to the music industry. Mike shot some material he'll use for the Stage Pass special, but Mike also spent some time just kind of roaming around London and has an offbeat look at Europe's largest city.
London, England is my favorite city in the entire world. I've been here many times, but the first time you're here, you want to see all the great landmarks. Buckingham Palace, Big Ben, the Houses of Parliament, Westminster Abbey, the whole 9 yards. But there's a more offbeat side to London, and that's possibly why they asked me to give you this tour. So come with me now, if you will. Any of you guys know what time it is?
Yes, everywhere you turn in London, there are wonderful sights to take in.
Okay, you've saved and you've saved for that great vacation to England, and you want more for your entertainment dollar, don't you? Well, here you go. Travel tip number 37. Right now we're at the foot of Tower Bridge, and behind us is the World Trade Center, where it's a little-known fact that going on as we speak, the Cleveland Indians are trying to trade Brooke Jacoby to the Seattle Mariners. Like every great major city, London has its Chinatown section. Now, you remember that great song a few years back, Werewolves of London by Warren Zevon? Listen to this.
He was looking for the place called Lee Ho Foot.
Okay, he was looking for a place called Lee Ho Foot, right? This is it, right here. Warren, I found it. Warren's going to be real happy about this. Come on. As you may well know, murder is not a big problem here in England, but one of the biggest crime waves that swept this country recently was hubcap theft. As you can see, the English are meeting this problem head on. Although it wasn't that big a TV show in America, as you can see here in England, they take flipper very seriously. Another nice feature here in England is if you don't have any friends, the government will supply them for you. In fact, they'll paint them right on your house. In fact, look at this one. This guy opted for the retired anchor man. He has him in his window, and it also keeps away thieves. What's in a name? Well, this is Wimpy's, and it's the premier fast food restaurant in England, and I think that says something all by itself, doesn't it? And something to look forward to if it comes across to America, the spicy bean burger with cheese.
But hey, enough sightseeing. The Browns flew in to play some football, and Casey Coleman and I flew in with a group of very serious Browns fans. But just as there was another side to sightseeing in London, there were some things going on at practice that didn't quite make it to the 11 o'clock news.
Now, we all know that London is a great city, but, you know, it's really easy to get around in London. They've got the finest cabs in the world. The cab drivers, they're great guys. They've got a wonderful underground system, the subway. Gets you anywhere you want to go. But occasionally, you want to drive on your own. So we said, let's rent a car. Let's go all out, all right? So we go to rent a car. And they try to give me a car with the steering wheel on the wrong side. Do you believe that? I said, hey, Mrs. Stanley did not raise any fool. I want a real car. I want an American car. I want a pink car. I want something that Elvis would be seen in. What do you think? The WJW Newsmobile. For the professional athlete, international travel can become very disorienting. The flight across the Atlantic, well, it does strange things to the mind and the body. So while in England, they're utilizing some of the most up-to-date technology, the training methods available. Behind me, the SR2 simulator. And inside, Tim Manoa, Bernie Kosar, Brian Brennan, Matt Barr, Clay Matthews, and other members of the Cleveland Browns as they try to acclimate themselves to life in England. Shake it up. Shake it up. As you will see, ladies and gentlemen, drastic times call for drastic measures. It's done amazing things to them. I believe, yes, Tim Manoa, Bernie Kosar there in the blue, Matt Barr, Clay Matthews. They look different, don't they? But then again, these are different times. This is a different country. Is Jan here? Told you. Well, one thing about preseason is you're going to see a lot of new faces. The Browns have a lot of new names in camp, and you really need a scorecard to tell the players. Now, we also know that the Browns are going for speed this year. They're going for those fast, small guys, you know, and some of the new guys are behind me here, and they're pretty small, and I hope they're pretty fast. So take a look at the Browns of the future, okay? Good luck in the game, guys. But these young Brownies aren't afraid to mix it up. And what would a Brown show be without a Golic interview? Even if his name is Mike, and even if he plays for the Eagles.
This has been an experience over here now. I'm learning a different culture here. I hope I don't get thrown out of the country for anything bad.
Well, then you'll be the only brother that has any culture then, right, in your family?
I tell you what, you know, Bob luckily got out of Cleveland before he killed that city, man, because he was really bringing it down to tubes, man. By the time he got out.
Money for nothing in your...
Chicks.
Kicks.
Chicks.
Kicks.
Oh.
He says chicks. I use kicks.
Well, in our continued coverage here of the game in England, I'm now standing in front of some of the Philadelphia Eagles. As you can see, they're really pumped for the action. And the great thing is they can't hear a thing I'm saying. These guys are wimps. Look at them. And they're wearing shoulder pads, too. It doesn't even show. I'm telling you, this is great. Hi, guys. Wimps. We've been over here, we've been talking football with all these guys, and, you know, it's getting a little boring, basically. So we thought we'd come to the resident philosopher of the team, the man who can see the cultural implications of this trip.
Well, it's always bothered me why people drive on a parkway and park on a driveway. I don't understand that. And when can you tell if sour cream goes bad? These are things that we've been talking about, and I think it would solve many of the problems of the world.
This is sort of the focus of the team meetings.
This is the focus of some of our more private meetings, but yes.
Well, it was an amazing week in London with a little bit of everything thrown in.
Live from Wembley, the pound comes to Wembley. Here we are. It's here. Ooh, 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 ooh.
For many, a dream come true. Yet for others,
Well, a lot of people have fantasies about playing pro football and pro soccer. My fantasy has always been, I've always wanted to be a Pip for a day. Dance with the Pips behind Gladys Knight. That'd be great.
All right, thank you, Michael. And now we'll go from one of Cleveland's all-time music favorites to one of the fan favorites for a long time here with the Browns. Ozzie Newsome joins us next. Don't go away. Welcome back to Sportscenter 8 Today, Browns edition, and the man to my right needs no introduction, the Wizard of Oz, number 82, Ozzie Newsome. And Oz, you decided to come back this year and put off any plans for retirement.
Yes, I did, and a lot of it was everything that happened in the first 48 hours after we had lost that game to Houston. A coaching change came about, and they brought a coach in, Bud Carson, who was believed in playing veteran players, and a long talk with Mark Trestman and saying how he was going to utilize the tight end in the passing game. All those things led me to come back, plus the aspiration of finally getting that Super Bowl.
A lot of last year had to be frustrating for you because it seemed that we would see you only maybe once or twice in the second half. Things that seemed like just to keep the streak alive almost. And you were certainly capable of more than that.
Yeah, that's true. You know, last year it was real frustrating. And I think not only was I frustrated by my role, but I think a lot of the other guys was frustrated. But you still have to give the coaching staff last year a lot of credit with all the quarterbacks going down. We just had to have a makeshift offense from week to week. So I was frustrated because, you know, my biggest asset is the ability to catch the football, and you kind of feel left out if you don't get that opportunity to do what you do best.
How much of you coming back this year is Ozzie Newsome the player, and how much is it Ozzie Newsome the kind of liaison between a new coaching staff and maybe some of the younger players too? Do you find yourself playing that role a little bit?
Yeah, I am. You know, being a leader, being a guy that have been through a coaching change before, but first and foremost, my priority is to be a player. You know, they expected me to perform at a high level this year, and I expect to perform at that level. But with the new coaching staff, they do need to utilize some of the veteran players to work between the coaches and especially a lot of the young players that we brought on this team with the Plan B free agency and the draft.
What kind of a difference is it to go from a Mark Trestman run offense to what kind of an offense you guys ran last year?
Well, the basics of our offense is the one that we ran last year and the one we had under Lennon. That's the basics. And Mark just has expanded on that. And I think he expanded it to the point where he's gotten everybody comfortable with the new things that they are doing. We are not only going to attack the field in certain areas, we're going to attack the whole field. And that gives everybody the opportunity to get involved.
Because you found the teams were kind of playing you, closing the field on you, basically, because they knew there was no threat for outside game.
Exactly. Yeah, we were inside running game, and people played that way, and they went to 8-man lines, and that really made it tough on trying to run the football. But when you got a threat to the outside, not only does that help your running game, but it helps your passing game, because now you get your linebackers that are trying to play back and forth to prevent you from running outside, and that helps the tight end to release and get into the pass route.
Let me ask you kind of a difficult question. Here we are coming off 2 seasons, and a couple of seasons ago, your owner, Art Modell, said, you know, that was the year we were going to do it. I think that was the year. Then you come in with a new coaching staff this year, and teams think that they have the upper hand on you because it takes time to go into a new coaching staff and make that transition. Yet you came back for another season because you want to go out on a positive winning note. Why can you do that?
Well, I think the nucleus, you know, they did not change the nucleus of this football team, and all the moves that were made to make this a better football team, to take us to the next level. All the moves, the coaching staff move, the way they drafted last year not thinking about next year, because we don't even have a #1 choice next year. They drafted to get guys that could come in and help us to win this year. The pressure's not on us. The pressure's on Cincinnati and Houston to win it. And I think when the dust clears in December, we'll be standing right there at the top with them.
What's it like now to be the hunter rather than the hunted?
Well, we've been in that role before. At least I have as a member of the Cleveland Browns, where we were in the underdog role. And, you know, it was a lot of fun. You know, people tend to take you for granted a little bit, and you come in and you can knock them down.
As we talked about this before, but every day is the last 2-a-day practice of that day. It's the last trip to Pittsburgh. It's the last trip to Cincinnati. And each day you hang those pads up, that's one more day that you won't have as a football player. Do you think about that?
No, I don't. You know, training camp is such a tough time that you have no time to reflect, because you get concerned about the next practice. That's the only way you can go. You have to take it one practice at a time. I think the sentimentality of this journey will probably come as we head into November and December. And that's when you'll start to look back and say, well, geez, it's coming to an end. But right now, you know, it's such a struggle, you know, to make sure you own the ball club and to just get through these tour days that you don't have any chance to be sentimental.
That's one thing you won't miss at the two-a-days.
No way.
Have a year, Oz. Thank you very much for joining us. Well, from a very familiar face, we'll go to John and Casey live in the Pontiac Silverdome, and those guys had to do their homework because there are plenty of new faces on the Browns this year.
Well, that's right, Vince. This is the spotting board that we use in the course of the game to 3 deeps, and for starters, this was a 3-4 defense, and now they're using the 4-3, but names like Clancy, Golick, Camp, Pizzoli, Junkin are all gone. We're going to be seeing a lot of new faces tonight.
Well, a lot of the guys offensively. You're going to see some wide receivers that you haven't seen before, Butler, and then, of course, the defensive backs. How about Tony Blaylock, who has a great chance of being the starting cornerback, and we're going to see Hanford Dixon play a little bit of free safety tonight. So, as you mentioned, just a lot of different faces, but the constant is, as Ozzie said, the two-a-days. They never go away.
Right. We're also going to have our first opportunity to see Kevin Mack in a game that the Lions, their big slogan is Restore the Roar. The Lions looking at this like a must-win situation, but is still picking players.
That is why you're going to see like a Scooter Molander get a lot of time at quarterback, because this is the night where you get a good look at those people, make your mind up about those folks, and go on from there. They don't have to win tonight, so don't be upset if they don't.
Right. And we'll be back to kick it off, and we'll have more of SportsCenter right after this brief timeout.
And that's just about all of our time for this week on SportsCenter 8 Today Browns edition. The Browns and Lions are coming up next. Please join us next week when it's preseason for you, the fans, as the team you love to hate comes to town, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see you then.